Hello, and welcome to Punk Rock Tabletop. Today, I'll be talking a little bit about one of my favorite tabletop games, Gloom. Gloom, by Atlas Games, has each of the four players taking up the role of five different family members, trying to make everybody else's family miserable or happier, and then kill them. Through the course of the game, you'll adjust your family members and the other player's family members' sense of self-worth and pathos, making them better citizens in society or bringing doom and gloom upon them, and then they will die. Each of these adjustments in self-worth denote a certain pathos point score level. The ultimate goal of the game is to have all of your family members dead with the lowest amount of self-worth possible. The game ends when one player's complete family, all five members, are dead. At that point, everybody counts up their total number of dead family members' pathos points. The member or player with the lowest score wins. And this is where the niche or gimmick of the game is. The cards are printed on clear plastic with the different point values, effects, and all that printed on it, and they kind of stack and overlay on top of each other. For example, the numbers will be on the left of the cards that you can play and modify on the different family members. One might be a plus 10, negative 15, negative 20, what have you. When you or a different player plays a card on top of that one, the previous cards don't go away, they stay stacked. But the new number that is stacking on top of the old number is the new value. Granted, using clear cards kinda is a little weird to get used to at first, particularly when you see other players' hands and can tell when they do and do not have modifiers. This is where I say, as long as you're not playing with a pal and you can actually trust everybody else, I see no harm in kind of keeping the hand hidden. That way the other players don't fully know what you might have in your hand at the time. The setup for the game is very easy. Each player takes one of the families and lays out the five family members in front of them. Every player is dealt 5 cards from the deck. According to the rules, the player with the most miserable day goes first. If more than one player happens to have the most miserable day at that point, then whoever owns the game goes first. During your turn, you can take up to 2 actions. The type of card that allows you to kill your own or another player's family member, the untimely death cards, can only be played as your first action of a turn. This prevents somebody from playing a powerful negative pathos card on one of their family members and then immediately eliminating them. This kind of makes the gameplay a little bit more fair. As I mentioned, you get 2 actions during your turn. These can be, on your first action, you can play an untimely death, and for both actions, you can play an event card, a modifier card, or discard cards, or just simply pass on your action. After you've done your 2 actions, you quote-unquote even your hand up to 5 cards, or whatever it may be, depending on your multipliers or modifiers, and then play continues to the next player. Of course, as always, if a card you play contradicts any of the rules, always follow what the card says. A family member can only die if they do have a negative pathos total, so you can't really add a whole bunch of positive pathos to another player's family member and then kill them. That's just, again, not as fair. The game's a little bit more fun for an untimely death to actually be kind of untimely. Someone's got to have something negative happening towards them. And these negative things that happen to the family members are one of the keys, in my opinion, to the game, the excellent storytelling and possibilities of some creative narration. For example, and most of this is handled through the card titles themselves. Say one member of their family was Angel, the starry-eyed serial killer. Through the course of gameplay, this unfortunate family member contracts consumption, which is very common at the time. Then say a couple of turns later, she may have found fame at a feast, and then met her untimely death when she was baked into a pie. The actual narration of how this actually happens to Angel, the starry-eyed serial killer, is left up to the players themselves. How was the consumption contracted? How did the family react to it, if they reacted to it at all? What sort of fame was actually found at this feast? Who hosted the feast? What was the feast about? And almost even more importantly with the untimely death, how was she baked into the pie? Was it an Angel, the starry-eyed serial killer pie? Was it a plum pie? That's left up to the players to decide. And I'll mention the storytelling does tend to be my favorite part of this game. The engine runs pretty well. The gimmick, again, takes a little bit to get used to, especially with the different feel of the cards. The way they were actually printed doesn't feel like your standard playing cards or customizable card game cards. But the clever wordplay of the card titles and what's actually happening to the characters and the encouragement of storytelling, as you have found through the many episodes of Punk Rock Tabletop I've done, I tend to embrace creativity and open-endedness and storytelling. And you'll hear me kind of rant more about storytelling and creativity possibilities once I start exploring and talking to you guys a lot more about tabletop RPGs like Call of Cthulhu and Vampire the Masquerade and whatnot. But until the day comes that I talk more about those sorts of games, I would urge to pick up Gloom, particularly during this month of October, heading up to Halloween. The art style of the game itself matches Halloween in the certain mood and atmosphere that it tends to project. The cards themselves are mostly black and white in their printing. The color that is there tends to really stand out like a sore thumb, and most of the time is a nice bloody crimson red. With the base game it allows from 2 to 4 players. It suggests ages 8 and up, and again, you got to be able to read and do a little bit of the maths. But on average, and from my experience, a game of all 4 members playing tends to take up to about an hour. This can be modified by each family having less members than the standard 5 of their team, so if an hour is a little bit too long, cut it down to maybe 3 or 4. So, thinking this game might be perfect for your Halloween game night? Then I urge you to go to www.theculturecache.com. There we have links to Amazon.com where you can purchase any of the products that we talk about here on www.theculturecache.com. Just click on one of the Amazon links. It costs absolutely nothing extra for you and it helps us out. Speaking about helping us out, we do have a donate tab there at www.theculturecache.com. If you have a particular game or a topic or concept that you would like for me, Tomix, or any of the other fine contributors here at the website to talk about, feel free to donate a little bit our way and let us know what sort of content you'd like to have here. And until next time, this is Tomix wishing you plenty of gloom for your Halloween this year.